I've loved Olivia for 3 years, watching her switch boyfriends one after another. When everyone thought I could finally make the heart of this flirt settle, she blocked me for Marcus. Over 3 years later, she stood amidst a vast sea of text messages, her face flushed, asking if I could give her another chance. I pulled out a bright red wedding invitation from my bag and handed it to her, smiling. I'm getting married next month. I hope you can make it. Olivia posted a message in our old friends group chat. Meet at Riverfront tonight. I have an announcement. Joel, my closest friend, teased her. Oh, getting so formal. Is our lady player finally ready to settle down? This wasn't the first time he'd made that joke. Normally, Olivia would laugh and tell him to get lost, but this time she just replied with a single word. Yes. Just one light word, yet it dropped like a stone in still water, stirring waves of surprise. The previously quiet group chat exploded in an instant. No way. Did I read that right? Is the Queen of Heartbreak coming ashore? Did our Ethan finally endure long enough to see the light at the end of the tunnel? Allow me to deduce, Miss Barrett hasn't been dating lately, nor does she have any flirtations going on. The male lead has to be Ethan, no doubt. After all these years of his unwavering devotion, congrats to Ethan. It wasn't a secret that I liked Olivia. My exception and favoritism for her had always been blatantly obvious, known to everyone. She too reserved her gentleness and patience solely for me. Olivia didn't say anything else, as if silently acknowledging everyone's jokes about us. After all, over the years, although she changed boyfriends often, her one constant had always been me. Anyone would think that my wait had finally paid off. Olivia was the one who organized the gathering, yet she was the last to arrive, and following behind her was a shy, reserved young man. He was quite young, but undeniably good-looking. Perhaps feeling uneasy in a new environment with unfamiliar people, he appeared a bit nervous. He looked so much like I did 3 years ago when I was first brought into the Barrett family circle. The group who had been joking and laughing moments ago fell silent, as if someone had pressed a power-off button. We all just stared, dumbfounded, as Olivia turned around and looped her arm through the young man's. Let me introduce my boyfriend, Marcus, she said. As she spoke, her gaze remained fixed on Marcus, a softness in her eyes that wouldn't fade. She looked every bit like a girl experiencing first love. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, Marcus lifted a hand and waved at us, his clean, gentle voice tinged with a hint of bashful shyness. Hello, everyone. Joelle was the first to react, laughing exaggeratedly. Quite the secret. When did you get a boyfriend? As he spoke, he kept glancing at me. He tried to mask it well, but after knowing him for so many years, I immediately saw the worry in his eyes. Was he afraid I'd make a scene? Or afraid I couldn't handle it? I lowered my head, swirling the drink in my glass. My mind was blank, bitterness filling my mouth. From beginning to end, Olivia and I had always been somewhere above friendship, but below love. She'd never given me a legitimate reason to be openly jealous. What right did I have to make a scene? Over the years, Olivia drifted from one relationship to another, changing boyfriends every so often, but she never formally introduced any of them to us. This action carried a certain implication that everyone understood. Olivia nestled closer into Marcus's arms, smiling. We've been together for over 2 months now. Marcus is a bit shy, so please don't scare him. 3 years ago it was the same group, the same words. Ethan's a bit shy, so please don't scare him. Back then, I had just moved from a small southern town, brought into the high-walled, prestigious Barrett family circle near the capital. I was ridiculed for my imperfect accent. It was Olivia who held my hand and pulled me into their circle. I was 21 that year, and the girl with the radiant smile who dispelled all my confusion and fears became my guiding light. Out of consideration for my feelings, everyone's reactions were subdued. After all, with years of friendship, when it came to relationships, they would naturally side with me over Marcus. Moreover, I had long been the one everyone thought would end up with Olivia. The atmosphere grew heavy with silence. Marcus looked even more uncomfortable. He lowered his head and gently tugged at Olivia's sleeve, whispering, "Sister, it feels like they're not very welcoming." I furrowed my brows slightly at his choice of address, feeling a slight physical discomfort. When Olivia and I were younger, her favorite prank was to sneak up behind me. She'd either grab whatever was in my hand or suddenly jump onto my back, wrapping her arms around my neck and forcing me to call her sister. She was only 2 months older than me, but she was crafty, always persistent to the point of exasperation. In the end, I was usually the one to give in. Only when my face flushed and I begrudgingly called her sister would she finally let me go. Back then, she was still a bit naive, maintaining a dignified air around other boys. Just as Olivia was about to reassure him, there was a sudden crash of a glass breaking in the corner. It was Domingo, who never got along with me. His usually handsome face was stern, his voice laced with anger. "Olivia, what the hell do you think you've been treating Ethan as all these years?" Olivia's expression darkened, her gaze sweeping the room before locking onto me. Then her lips parted slightly. "I don't know if there's been a misunderstanding, but I've only ever seen Ethan as a younger brother." Only a younger brother, is it? I wondered if she'd forgotten. Last year, when we were all gathered to celebrate the new year, Joel had bought some fireworks and called for us to go outside and set them off. Olivia sat lazily beside me, clutching my arm and smiling. "No, Ethan from my family will stay here to keep me company." Someone nearby jeered, "Since when did Ethan become part of your family?" She threw a tangerine at them, laughing even harder. "He's always been. Ethan is my childhood confidant." In just a matter of months, she could look me straight in the eye and calmly call me her younger brother. I placed a hand over my heart, pressing lightly. It hurt. It was uncomfortable, but not as much as I had imagined. In fact, there was a sense of relief, as if I'd finally received an answer. It felt like when I was 21, I sent what I thought was a beautifully written application to my dream architecture firm, only to never hear back. Then, 3 years later, the firm finally sent a reply saying my application hadn't been accepted. I'd simply think, "Oh well, now I know." It turns out that the initial enthusiasm and longing had long since faded in the wait. My feelings for Olivia were the same. It wasn't that I didn't love her anymore. I just no longer held any expectations. So no matter the outcome, it didn't sway my emotions too much. Domingo wanted to speak up for me again, but I stopped him. He shot me a glare, gritted his teeth and spat. Useless. Then he stormed off. In this situation, it didn't feel right for me to stay either. So I grabbed my phone from the table and followed him out, ready to leave. Just as I placed my hand on the door handle, Olivia called out to me, "Ethan, come back." I turned back and gave her a smile. "Sister, you all enjoy. I'm going to check on Domingo." It was the first time in all these years that I so readily called her sister, but judging by her expression, she didn't seem too pleased. Olivia's face froze for a moment, then darkened as she repeated, "Come back." This time, I didn't listen to her. As I pushed open the door and walked out, I heard the sound of glass shattering behind me. The door closed, sealing off the noise from inside. Looking for Domingo was merely an excuse to make my exit. Domingo and I never got along. In college, he'd throw balls at me during gym class, secretly cut up my design projects with scissors, hide my textbooks, and leave bugs in my desk. As we grew older, we still couldn't stand each other. Even though he spoke up for me this time, I didn't feel inclined to mend our relationship. I was planning to head home, but as I reached the front entrance, I spotted Domingo leaning against the wall, smoking. When he saw me approaching, he put out his cigarette and tossed it in the trash. "I came with Joel," he said. "Are you heading back now? Mind giving me a lift?" I sighed, deciding against turning him down. After 3 years of hanging out, this was one of the rare occasions we were alone together without arguing. I dropped him off at his house. He stayed seated, not moving. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "That Marcus kid, he reminds me a lot of you back then." But what did that matter? No matter how similar he could never be me, and I could never be him. Unwilling to continue this conversation, I opened the car door and shooed him out. Ignoring his muttered curses, I pressed lightly on the gas and turned into the adjacent villa. My family lived next door to Domingo's, and beyond that was Olivia's family's home. In this neighborhood, all the residents were wealthy or influential. Just as I parked the car, Domingo called and told me to check my phone. When I opened it, the group chat was buzzing with red packets and money transfers flying everywhere. Olivia had added Marcus to the group, and everyone was sending red packets to congratulate her on finding a boyfriend. I joined in, sending my own red packet, but just as it successfully sent, Olivia kicked me out of the group. Immediately after, she sent me a private message. "Sorry, Ethan, your presence makes Marcus uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch for now." I pressed my lips together, feeling as if someone had punched me squarely in the chest. After a moment of thought, I replied with a simple, "All right." But as soon as I sent it, I was met with a glaring red exclamation mark. Olivia had blocked me. From youthful days to brilliant years, 3 years of knowing each other had been defeated by her 2-month relationship. I stared at that exclamation mark for a long time, dazed. My eyes burned, but no tears came. The old Olivia would shake me, smiling as she said, "Ethan, other than my parents, no one is more important to me than you." Now this, Olivia told me, "Your presence makes Marcus uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch." How ridiculous. I liked Olivia, but I never clung to her or crossed any boundaries. I never even said or did anything flirtatious. Whenever I found out she had a boyfriend, I'd proactively keep my distance from her. I was afraid my affection would become a burden to her. Yet whenever I pulled away even slightly, it would annoy her. Olivia's first boyfriend was actually my college classmate, a guy who was well aware of my feelings for her. Later, the two of them walked hand in hand before me, my classmate grinning broadly. He seemed to have forgotten all the times we'd shared drinks, looking genuinely grateful as he said, "Ethan, thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have won over Olivia." That day, with the wind blowing hard, I stood on the tree-lined path outside the library, feeling like a complete fool. It was only then that I realized he had befriended me from the start just to get close to Olivia. After all, how many college guys could resist a campus heartthrob who was both beautiful and from a wealthy family? I distanced myself from both him and Olivia. In the end, their relationship lasted only 3 days. When he returned, he was furious, red-eyed, and demanded, "Olivia dumped me. Are you happy now?" I found it baffling. I hadn't done anything, so why was he asking me? But since he asked, I decided to tell the truth. "Yeah, I'm happy." That night, Olivia insisted on taking me out for a big meal. She teased me with a mischievous grin. "You've been ignoring me for 3 days. Can you stop being mad already?" I earnestly explained, "I'm not mad. It's just that now you're dating someone, we should maintain some distance. It's better for everyone." But I only agreed to go out with him because you two were close. If Ethan likes him, I like him. If Ethan doesn't like him, I don't either. She said it with absolute confidence. Afterward, whenever she dated, she avoided anyone with connections to me. She didn't even bring her boyfriends around us publicly. But the circle of high society in the capital isn't that big or small. When she took her boyfriends to events, running into acquaintances was inevitable. Even if she didn't say anything, news of her relationships would eventually reach me through others. During holiday gatherings, someone would joke, "You've had so many boyfriends, when will you bring one for us to meet?" She'd place a shrimp in my bowl and casually take the one I'd peeled, replying nonchalantly, "They're not quite at that level yet." Some of her boyfriends added me on social media, either pleading or cursing, all with the intent of getting me to stay away from Olivia. After it happened enough times, I understood. Even if I did nothing, just my existence was a sin. So when Olivia decided to cut ties for Marcus's sake, I respected her decision, but why did she have to block me? An hour later, Joel kicked open my bedroom door. Seeing that I was all right, he scratched his head. "Man, I was worried you'd do something drastic, so I came to check on you." I glared at him, pressing my lips together without responding. A few minutes later, he cautiously asked, "Ethan, Olivia's just temporarily confused. We can all see how much that Marcus resembles. Once she comes to her senses, could you give her another chance?" What he didn't say was probably that Marcus reminded him of me from back then. I frowned slightly, not directly answering his question. "Joel, I want to go back south to visit my grandma's place." When my mom was pregnant with me, my dad's business hit a rough patch and nearly went bankrupt. They consulted a feng shui master, who pinpointed the issue to my mom's pregnancy. The master said I was destined to bring misfortune, which would affect my dad's financial luck. But my mom was already 9 months pregnant, close to her due date. Even if she had wanted to, there was no turning back. So as soon as I was born, I was sent south to my grandmother's. My grandmother named me Ethan, saying she hoped I'd find strength through hardship. But when I was 18, she passed away, leaving me all alone. I used to think, well, at least I had Olivia. Even if we weren't lovers, I was always her number one choice, and that seemed like enough. But reality gave me a harsh slap in the face. It was the rainy season. The misty landscape of the south was shrouded in a light drizzle. Holding an umbrella, I stepped onto the familiar cobblestone path. At the end of the road stood an old 3-story building, the home where I'd spent 18 years of my life. My mom always said my grandmother was stubborn. Even though her daughter married into wealth, she insisted on staying in the countryside, clinging to that old house. But it was this stubborn woman who gave me the happiest childhood. The rain was light. Vendors meandered through the streets on tricycles, calling out on loudspeakers, "Fresh berries, fresh berries." A woman from the small villa next door came out with an umbrella, calling the vendor over. Seeing me by the road, she asked in surprise, "Ethan, what brings you back? It's not the Memorial Day yet." I forced a smile. I missed home, came back to stay a few days. She glanced at the suitcase I was holding, a flash of sympathy crossing her eyes. "Why'd you come all by yourself? Your grandma's old house hasn't been lived in for ages. And it's been raining these past days. It must be damp inside. How about staying at our place for now? My sister Sophia is hardly ever home, so you'd be great company for me." With that, she grabbed my suitcase and, cheerfully holding my hand, led me back to the villa. I was put in her sister Sophia's room. Watching Alexandra bustling in and out, I finally understood what it meant to be overwhelmed by hospitality. After several refusals, she looked at me with such hurt, asking if I thought her home was too modest, that I gave in. Sophia's room was clean and simple. The most prominent feature was a huge bookshelf filled with books, models, trophies, and certificates. It suited her well, the overachiever from childhood to college. Sophia was 2 years older than me. We weren't exactly close, but we weren't strangers either. Aside from the bond of growing up together, we were also university alumni. She had a scholarship to the country's top architecture school, while I got in due to my local residency. That evening, Domingo called me. Through the phone, his voice sounded dull. "Joel said you went back south." I hummed in response. After a long pause, he muttered, "Why didn't you tell me? I could use a break, too." I had long since picked up on Domingo's feelings for Olivia as we moved beyond our college years. Standing by the window, looking at the endless drizzle, I rejected him without hesitation. No need. A brotherly bonding trip isn't really our style. Domingo ground his teeth, called me an idiot, and hung up promptly. In the few days that had passed, Alexandra had grown from a simple, innocent girl into a graceful young woman. She hesitated for a moment, but then smiled brightly one evening as I was settling in. "My sister's arriving tomorrow," she mentioned, her voice lively and pleasant as I remembered. I smiled back, nodding. Since the owner of the room would be returning, I naturally had no reason to stay. I said my goodbyes to Alexandra, who frowned, thinking it over. "You haven't been back for so long, and your grandmother's old house isn't exactly stocked. Why don't we do this? Sophia can help you get settled," says it. I was about to decline when the front door opened. A slender figure walked in, rain droplets still clinging to her coat. Her eyes met mine, a flash of recognition followed by a warm smile. "Ethan, it's been a while." Sophia had arrived early. In the few years that had passed, she had grown from a serious, studious girl into a confident, poised woman. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes reflecting emotions I couldn't quite read. "It's been a while," she said, her voice as steady and thoughtful as I remembered. I smiled at her. It has. Since the owner of the room had returned, I naturally had no reason to stay. I said my goodbyes, but Sophia insisted, "At least let me help you get your grandmother's place ready. It must need some work after being empty so long." It didn't seem appropriate for a man and woman to stay alone together, but I couldn't refuse both sisters' kindness. So Sophia and I headed to my grandmother's house. Although it hadn't been lived in for a while, I hired people every year to inspect and repair the house. Aside from a layer of dust, it was in decent condition. After we finished cleaning, I sat on the steps outside, staring off into the distance. The sky was clear and bright after the rain, large white clouds floating against the deep blue backdrop. It was a rare sight compared to the smog-choked skies of the capital. Sophia handed me a bottle of water, and I looked up, smiling. "Why did you come back all of a sudden?" I asked. She smiled back. "My work brought me here. Architectural conservation project for the old quarter. What about you?" she asked in return. Sophia was undeniably beautiful. The warm sunlight fell on her as if dusting her in a light layer of golden powder. Unlike Olivia's striking and bold appearance, Sophia's features were gentle and elegant, radiating an air of scholarly charm. I looked away, choosing the most suitable words. Healing. Life in the countryside moved slowly. I gradually adapted to running into Sophia frequently as she worked on her project nearby. She was considerate and thoughtful, never pushing for details about what had brought me back so suddenly. Afraid I'd get bored, she brought over a stack of architectural journals for me to pass the time. She even somehow found a vintage camera that looked just like the one my grandmother had given me when I started college. I held it in my hands, turning it over, my heart filled with a mix of emotions. Sophia stood quietly beside me. After a long time, I heard her say, "Ethan, are you feeling hurt?" It was a familiar phrase, one that stirred memories, buried deep in time. When I was little, the local kids often mocked me for being a parentless child, or worse, an illegitimate kid. At that age, I was soft-hearted and could only hide somewhere to cry. Every time I cried, Sophia would always find me. She'd gently pat my head and ask, "Ethan, are you feeling hurt?" Gradually, fewer and fewer people bullied me, until one day I saw Sophia confronting a boy who'd thrown rocks at me, giving him a stern lecture in the dead end of an alley, and finally understood why. This elegant, gentle girl had become a fierce protector to shield me. It seemed I'd been very attached to Sophia before I left here. How had we grown distant over time? A few days later, Joel sent me a short video. In the video, Olivia was slumped at a table, clutching a bottle and calling out, "Ethan, Ethan." Beside her, Marcus's brows were tightly furrowed, his expression dark. Under the video, there were two messages. "Ethan, when are you coming back? Olivia's drunk and keeps demanding to see you. She's at the Rose Garden making a scene, and we don't know what to do with her." The Rose Garden was the old haunt Daniel had mentioned last time, the most exclusive club in the capital owned by the Barrett family. Olivia often drank too much when she went out, and every time I'd be the only one she'd follow home peacefully. Even drunk, she'd still recognize me. I once asked her if she wasn't afraid of mistaking someone else for me. She'd shake her head and pout. "How could I ever mistake you? You're the one and only Ethan." It was these seemingly insignificant moments that fueled my feelings for her over 3 years. Seeing even a hint of hope was enough to keep me going all this time, wasn't it? I replied, "From now on, don't tell me about her anymore." As soon as I sent the message, Joel's call came through. I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hey, Ethan, Olivia hasn't been doing well these past few days." Before he could finish, there was a burst of shouting in the background. "Olivia, behave yourself and stop grabbing my phone." The next second, Olivia's voice came through the receiver. "Hello? Hello, is that Ethan? When are you coming to get me?" "I wasn't feeling well the past couple of days, and you didn't come to see me. I haven't seen you in so long." Her voice grew softer and more uncertain, as if tinged with a sob. "Ethan, I miss you." Without a second thought, I hung up. That night, Marcus sent me a friend request, saying he had something to show me. I had no interest in whatever he wanted to show, but he wouldn't give up, repeatedly trying to add me. By the 20th attempt or so, I accepted. He sent a photo. In a dimly lit bar, Olivia lay slumped across a table, eyes closed, her dark hair spread out, looking vulnerable and sad. Marcus was standing over her, looking concerned. "Brother Ethan, Olivia, and I know you like her too, but Olivia only sees you as family and habit. She told me herself that I'm the only one she loves. She got drunk tonight because she was jealous when I talked to another girl, and came looking for you because she's confused. Please don't misunderstand." Reading through his long message, I felt only disinterest. My 3 years of feelings had ended the moment she blocked me. Not loving her anymore wasn't as hard as I'd thought. I calmly replied, "Oh, wish you both happiness." It rained continuously for several days. Sophia would often stop by after her workday, bringing food or books. Sometimes she'd sit by the window, writing in her journal or sketching building details, while I repaired items around the house. Outside, there was the sound of rain pattering. Inside, the scratching of her pen on paper and the occasional sound of my tools filled the air. It made me think of phrases like "peaceful times" and "serenity in the passing years." During this time, my relationship with her grew closer. I found myself looking forward to her visits, appreciating the comfortable silence between us when words weren't needed. One evening, while we were having dinner together, she tentatively asked, "Have you thought about coming back to architecture? Your designs in college were brilliant." I had abandoned architecture after graduation, taking a corporate job instead to please my parents. The seed of her question planted itself in my mind. "I've been thinking lately," I admitted. "I might want to start my own firm someday." Her eyes lit up. "You should. You have the talent and vision for it." For the first time in months, I felt a spark of excitement about the future. Domingo messaged me again a few weeks later, saying if I didn't return to the capital soon, I'd miss the show of the century. I ignored him, focusing instead on the draft business plan I'd started for my architecture firm. That evening, Sophia brought over some contracts from her conservation project. "I thought you might want to look at these, see how we're structuring the historical renovations." As I reviewed the documents, I found myself offering suggestions and improvements. She listened intently, taking notes. "You know," she said with a small smile, "my firm is looking for a partner who specializes in historical architecture with modern adaptations. That's always been your strength." I looked up from the papers. "Are you offering me a job?" She shook her head. "I'm offering you a partnership, equal stake, equal say. You'd have the freedom to pursue your own projects too." The proposal was unexpected but perfect. Working with Sophia would give me the stability to build my reputation while allowing me the creative freedom I craved. "I'd need to think about it," I said, though I already knew my answer. She nodded. "Take your time, the offer doesn't expire." 3 months passed quickly. I accepted Sophia's partnership offer, and together we expanded the firm's scope beyond conservation to include original designs that honored historical contexts. Our first major success came when we won a bid to redesign an abandoned factory complex into a mixed-use community space. The project garnered attention in architectural circles, and brought in more clients. Working with Sophia proved effortless. Our styles complemented each other, my bold innovations balanced by her meticulous attention to detail. We could communicate with just a glance across the drafting table, anticipating each other's thoughts. One night, after celebrating a new contract, she walked me back to my grandmother's house, which I'd fully renovated. "You know what's strange?" she said, looking up at the stars. "For years I wondered what happened to the boy next door, who used to dream of building cathedrals and skyscrapers." I glanced at her, surprised. "You remember that?" She nodded. "I kept every postcard you sent from college. I wanted to reach out when you graduated, but I heard you were doing well in the capital." "With Olivia," I said, finally naming the shadow that had hung between us. "With Olivia," she acknowledged. "Before I was 21, my parents were strangers who only appeared on holidays. After 21, they were family who just asked if I had enough money. Did they love me? Probably. But the emotional gap of so many years meant they didn't know how to get close to me. When my mother called to check in, I surprised both of us by inviting her and my father to visit. "I'd like you to see what I'm doing now," I said. They arrived the following weekend, awkward but willing. My father, taciturn as always, walked through my designs with unexpected interest. "You found your calling," he said simply. My mother was more emotional, touching the photographs I'd hung on the walls, childhood snapshots with my grandmother. "She would be proud," she whispered. That evening, as we sat on the porch, my father cleared his throat. "Your mother and we made mistakes. We thought providing financially was enough. We should have done more." It wasn't the apology I'd once dreamed of, but it was a beginning. "I'd like to show you around tomorrow," I offered. "Sophia's agreed to give us a tour of the conservation site." "Sophia?" My mother's eyebrows rose. "Is she special to you?" I thought about it for a moment. "Yes," I answered honestly. "I think she is." After my parents left, something shifted between Sophia and me. We began spending more time together outside of work, hiking the nearby hills, exploring local markets, or simply enjoying quiet evenings on my porch. One night, as she was leaving, I impulsively took her hand. "Stay for dinner? I found your grandmother's recipe book and thought I'd try the lemon chicken." Her smile lit something warm inside me. I'd love that. Dinner became a regular thing, sometimes at my place, sometimes at hers. We'd talk about work, books, dreams, everything and nothing. I found myself laughing more than I had in years. One evening Joel called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Ethan, finally! Where have you been, man? Everyone's worried. You disappeared for months." I glanced across the table at Sophia, who was sketching ideas for our next project. "I'm good, Joel. Better than good, actually." "So you're coming back to the capital. There's some drama with Olivia and—" "I'm not coming back," I interrupted. "I've started a new firm here with Sophia Chen. We're doing well." The silence on the other end stretched before Joel asked carefully, "Sophia? Wait, isn't she the girl you grew up with, the architect?" "Yes," I answered simply. "She is." Joel sighed, trying to reconcile this news. "Ethan, are you serious about her? Or is this just to forget Olivia?" I paused, watching Sophia as she concentrated on her sketch, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. The question made me examine my own feelings carefully. "I'm serious about my life here," I finally said. "About the work we're doing, the firm we're building, and yes, about Sophia. She challenges me, believes in me, and sees me clearly, not as some idealized version or convenient backup." After I hung up, Sophia looked up. "Everything okay?" I nodded. "Just an old friend checking in." That night, walking her home under the stars, I took her hand. She intertwined her fingers with mine, a simple gesture that felt more intimate than anything I had experienced before. "Ethan," she said softly, "I need to know where this is going. I don't want to misinterpret." I stopped, turning to face her. "I'm not good with words like this, but I think I'm falling in love with you. Not because you're convenient or because you're helping me forget someone, but because you're you." Her smile was worth every moment of uncertainty. "Good," she said, "because I've been falling for you since you came back." After Joel's call, I got busy with our growing business. The firm was gaining recognition, and we were being approached for larger projects. Sophia and I worked seamlessly together, professional at the office and increasingly close in our personal lives. Joel still messaged me regularly, occasionally mentioning Olivia. He told me Marcus had used compromising photos of her to pressure her family into supporting their engagement. The incident caused a big stir, even making the news. The Barrett family patriarch was furious, ordering Olivia to step down from her role in the family business and reflect on her actions. Olivia, who had been pampered her entire life, wasn't used to such hardships. Feeling down, she started drinking, and whenever she got drunk, she'd shout for me, refusing to listen to anyone else. Joel didn't tell me this directly. Domingo did. "Domingo, after all these years, can't you forgive her just this once? Seeing her like this, doesn't it break your heart?" I didn't reply. Heartbreak? For 3 years, she knew how I felt. She gave me hope while constantly dating others. Whoever cared about my heart? Olivia had tried adding me several times lately, but I ignored her. She'd called from different numbers, and I blocked them all. After she blocked me for Marcus, there was no way we could even be friends. Some wounds can't be undone. Once love is shattered, mending it is no simple matter. Besides, I already had Sophia now. I saw Olivia again over 6 months later. Domingo messaged me saying he was in a nearby town and asked to meet on the busiest street. Before leaving, I stuffed a bright red wedding invitation into my bag, hoping he could help distribute them back home. The wedding preparations with Sophia were already underway. Our partnership had blossomed into love, and when I proposed under the stars on the roof of our first completed building project, she'd said yes, with tears in her eyes. Today, the pedestrian street's flower beds were filled with bright red roses, decorated with ribbons and balloons. 2 young girls passing by chattered excitedly. "Wow, which rich guy is proposing? It's so romantic." I heard it's actually a beautiful girl confessing her love. There's a whole sea of roses up ahead. They were flown in. Someone even saw a small plane this morning. Must be loaded. Let's go see. The crowd surged toward the spot where Domingo and I had planned to meet. I frowned, starting to piece things together. A couple of days ago, I'd heard that the Barrett family had given Marcus a settlement to break off the engagement. Seeing no future with a wealthy family in turmoil, he took the money and left. With my bag in hand, I moved with the crowd toward the meeting point. Sure enough, the place overflowing with the roses was near the cafe where we were supposed to meet. The surrounding street was packed with layers of people. Occasionally I heard girls gasp, "The girl holding the flowers in the middle is stunning," and "Those guys next to her are handsome too." I love the one on the far right. He's got that bad boy vibe, so appealing. It's like a scene from a romance novel. Beautiful heroine and her handsome knights. I wonder what the leading man looks like to have such a beautiful girl confessing publicly. Domingo stood outside the crowd, and when he saw me, he excitedly pulled me into the throng. Make way! The leading man has arrived." Quickly a path opened up. At the end of the path stood Olivia, nervous yet hopeful, holding a large bouquet of roses. Domingo released my hand and nudged me toward her. Compared to me, his dedication to Olivia probably deserved more respect. "Ethan?" Olivia called my name, a blush spreading across her delicate face. Amid the crowd's cheers, she slowly walked toward me. Behind her, our old friends wore expressions of delight, except for Joel on the far right, who leaned lazily against the wall with his arms crossed, watching the scene unfold with a smirk. Seeing me, he raised an eyebrow, setting off a wave of excited screams from the surrounding girls. Olivia bit her lip shyly, holding the flowers out to me. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I know what I did before was terrible. It wasn't until you left that I realized how much more important you are to me than I ever imagined." Will you give me another chance? Let me make up for my mistakes." I looked down, opened my bag, and pulled out the wedding invitation to hand to her. "I'm getting married next month. I hope you can come." Olivia froze, the expensive roses slipping from her hands, petals scattering. She stammered, "Ethan, stop joking. This isn't funny." As she spoke, her eyes reddened. I ignored her, sidestepping to hand out the invitations to the others, who were equally stunned. "Remember to come to my wedding." I'd only told my parents and Joel about the wedding. Clearly they hadn't spread the news. Olivia rushed over, grabbing the invitations I just handed out and tearing them to pieces, throwing them to the ground. Her red-rimmed eyes glared at me. "Ethan, I just said it. This joke isn't funny." I didn't expect Olivia's reaction to be so extreme. Tearing up as she spoke, she began shredding every invitation in my bag and grabbed my arm, trying to pull me away. I broke free of her grip. Smiling faintly, I said, "There are still plenty of things to prepare for the wedding, and my fiancé is waiting for me to return. I'll take my leave." 2 days later, Olivia showed up in our town. Her flashy, limited edition sports car looked wildly out of place parked outside my grandmother's modest home. She waited for me outside every day, begging for another chance. Growing tired of her persistence, I sternly told her, "I'm about to get married. Please stop bothering me." She bit her lip, her eyes immediately welling up with tears. A few moments later, she slowly crouched down, clutching her head and sobbing. "Ethan, I know I was wrong. Just give me one more chance. I'm begging you. Please, Ethan, don't be so heartless." This once proud woman humbled herself, sinking into the dust to beg for my forgiveness. Watching her sobbing on the ground, I felt nothing. Heartless? Then I didn't mind being a little more so. I bent down slightly. "Sorry, Olivia, but your presence makes Sophia uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch." I returned the words she'd once said to me, word for word. The wedding proceeded as planned. Outside, a line of wedding cars stretched down the road. Just before getting into the car, I saw Olivia standing outside. She was dressed in a brand new white dress with exquisitely done makeup. Ignoring her, I lowered my head to get into the car, but she rushed over and grabbed my arm. Her once clear voice was now hoarse, as if scraped by sand. "Ethan, are you doing this to get back at me?" Her red-rimmed eyes tried to hold a smile. "You can punish me however you want. Just please don't marry someone else." I looked at her calmly and replied, "No, this isn't to get back at you. I'm marrying Sophia simply because I want to marry her." Tears fell down her face, and her grip on my sleeve tightened. But you don't love her, do you?" I pushed her hand away, smiling faintly. If I didn't love her, why would I marry her? Olivia, after all these years, you should know me at least that well. With that, I paid her no further attention and got into the car. As the procession pulled away, I could still see her lonely figure standing there in the rearview mirror wrapped in white, a scene like a farce. Married life with Sophia was everything I could have hoped for. Our architectural firm thrived, and we found a perfect balance between work partnership and married life. Joel still kept in touch occasionally, chatting about life and checking in on me. He never brought up Olivia again. I learned through business news that the Barrett family was struggling to rebuild their reputation after the Marcus scandal. Although I felt a twinge of sympathy for Olivia's father, who had always been kind to me, I chose not to inquire further. Their family troubles were no longer my concern. Sophia and I purchased a beautiful old house on the outskirts of town and set about renovating it ourselves. The process of transforming the space together became a metaphor for our relationship, preserving what was valuable from the past while building something new and strong for the future. In the evenings, we would sit on the porch, watching the sunset, discussing our latest projects, or simply enjoying each other's company in comfortable silence. 1 year into our marriage, Sophia and I won a prestigious architectural award for our conservation work in the old town. At the award ceremony in the Capitol, I spotted Olivia sitting near the back. She looked thinner, her once vibrant presence diminished. When our eyes met briefly across the room, she offered a small, sad smile before quickly looking away. Later that evening, as Sophia and I celebrated with colleagues, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Congratulations on your award. You deserve it. I always knew you were talented, even when you doubted yourself. I'm glad you found happiness. Oh." I showed the message to Sophia, who squeezed my hand gently. "Do you want to respond?" she asked. No hint of jealousy in her voice. I thought for a moment, then simply replied, "Thank you." Some chapters of our lives close quietly, without dramatic endings. My story with Olivia had finally found its proper conclusion, not with bitterness or revenge, but with simple acknowledgement and the freedom to move forward. Looking back now, I can see how losing Olivia led me to find my true self, and Sophia. The day Olivia blocked me might have felt like the end of my world, but it was actually the beginning of a better one. In our new home, Sophia and I have created a life filled with purpose, respect, and genuine love. Our firm continues to grow, and we're expecting our first child in the spring. Sometimes life's greatest rejections are actually redirections. Being blocked by Olivia freed me to build something authentic with someone who values me completely. Yesterday, an invitation arrived for the opening of a new Barrett family business venture. I recognized Olivia's handwriting on the envelope. Inside was a note that read, "No hard feelings. I hope you and Sophia will attend." Sophia looked over my shoulder at the invitation. "Should we go?" I smiled, pulling her close. "Yes, I think we should. After all, if she hadn't blocked me that day, I might never have found my way back to you." She kissed me softly. "Then I suppose we owe her a thank you." Some people come into our lives to stay, others to teach us valuable lessons before letting us go. Olivia taught me what I thought was love, but wasn't. Sophia showed me what love truly is, not desperate longing or dependency, but partnership, respect, and growing together. I've loved Sophia for 2 years now, not with the painful, anxious attachment I once felt for Olivia, but with something deeper and more secure. The day Olivia blocked me was the day my real life began, and for that unexpected gift, I can only be grateful.